In the pictures, they look like any other happy kid, caught up in the wonders of childhood. But beneath the surface,
he was just running up and down our block at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he didn't sleep for 3 nights.
Beneath the surface, something is terribly wrong.
She thought there were foxes under her bed that were going to chew her up.
He picked up a knife and attempted to defend himself, stood there in the kitchen and put a knife to himself, to his throat.
Still, as a parent, you never want to give your child that diagnosis. Today's Friday, so that's for tomorrow morning. Mental illness. You're in denial. There's no way.
Who suffers from mental illness? They're the kid from the troubled home, but they're also the state free throw champ and the bubbly cheerleader turned beauty queen.
I had a period of time where I was hurting myself.
1 out of every 5 kids has some form of mental illness. Chances are there's someone you know.
This is a lonely illness to deal with, and particularly for a parent.
But until you actually live with a child that's having these difficulties, it's almost like you speak a different language and no one can understand.
A world filled with emergency room visits, managing medications.
She was on Trileptal, she was on Lexapro, she was on Wellbutrin, she was on Depakote. It's frightening.
And run-ins with the law.
My heart pounds when I hear a police siren.
Parents and kids in crisis up against a system in shambles.
These are our waiting lists of folks trying to get appointments.
It can take 6 months to see a child psychologist, weeks to find a bed in a residential treatment center.
And so kids who really ought to be in the hospital for no more than 10 or 15 days wind up in hospital for 30 or 40 or 50 or sometimes longer days. The situation becomes quite impossible and, of course, ultimately backs up in the emergency room.
At one of the state's children's hospitals, psychiatric visits to the ER have skyrocketed.
We've been forced to issue the warning that because our emergency department is not a safe or a therapeutic place for children in acute psychiatric crisis, that we are fearful that a child will die here.
Parents who do find medical treatment for their child are often denied coverage by their HMO.
I think it is sick. I think it's capitalistic. I think it is offensive.
Lack of resources force parents to make desperate decisions.
It's extremely painful having him away from home.
I can't even begin to explain how awful knowing that Jeffrey needed to go away for a while felt to my husband and I and the whole family.
And then there are the really tragic stories.
I don't want nobody to feel the same pain.
Kids who slip through the cracks into a system that punishes rather than treats.
David was not a criminal. How many other kids in there are not criminal?
40 to 50% or higher, if you're talking about children in detention, have significant mental health problems.
William Carbone oversees the state's juvenile detention centers, where many of these kids get their first diagnosis.
Well, you now have full-time nursing in all the detention centers because there are so many children who are on psychotropic medications.
Faced with the crisis, state agencies are changing their philosophy.
If there's runaway behavior,
you hear a lot of negative things about DCF. Well, this is and a lot of things going on, but this is something positive that's being done for people in need.
There are many places that don't do what Connecticut does.
Cold comfort to parents who've had to fight every step of the way to get their children help in their darkest hours.
And you question everybody. You question yourself, you question the doctor. You feel really desperate.